Brought to you by WKTV. I'm Wayne Thomas. Welcome to another Grand Rapids Ghost Hunters podcast. Thank you for joining our forum in search of paranormal possibilities. We ask that you please keep an open mind about things that you might not easily believe as we discuss all things paranormal. Once again, I'd like to thank WKTV producers Gene Gregory, who was here for the last podcast, but tonight it's Matt Zuby, our producer. He tells me that is not his stage name. He tells me that's his real name. I don't know. Some people just got cool names, I guess. I'd like to start by introducing everyone, and then we can just kind of work our way around the table and meet everybody. This way we can join in on the conversation early. And because we have a long list of things that we want to review and report, especially Brandon has a lot of things that he's been doing lately. So my friends and fellow host, founder of Tulip City Ghostbusters, Kim Colleen, and founder of Kent County Paranormal, longtime paranormal investigator, Brandon Jose, and our special guest, returning special guest, also founder of his team, Lakeshore Paranormal, Darren Dykhouse. And we got a room full of founders because Jamie Ray founded Paranormal Wonders. So that's our panel. That's our guest. Let's go around the table. Everybody introduce themselves. Maybe, Kim, you can start.
Sure. My name is Kim Colleen, and I started the Tulip City Ghostbusters 3 years ago. Founded in Holland, Michigan, right here. So we use our group as a support system for local charity work that we do in the West Michigan area. So if you see me around town and you see a white Ecto Jeep, that's me.
With the slime running down the side.
Yeah, and slime around the windows.
That's awesome.
And,
like, can I go for a ride?
You cannot miss it.
I would love to.
Yes.
Let's do this. Ghostbusters.
We're on Facebook. Check us out under Tulip City Ghostbusters, and you can see pictures of our most recent events and future events that I'll talk about later. Brandon?
I'm Brandon Jose of Kent County Paranormal. You can find our page on Facebook, as well as the Whole Picture podcast, the Kent County Paranormal podcast as well.
Yeah, let's say a little bit more about that. Check out the Spirit's Doorway too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's on that, and he's had some of the same guests that we've had here. As far as you had from Mackinac Island,
Todd Clements.
Clements, and then you also had Steve Wilson, Australian psychic.
Oh, wow.
But don't think because if you saw this show, you've seen Brandon's show on the Spirit's Doorway. Don't think that at all, because it's a different perspective, and they're doing interesting things. Because Brandon was at Paracon, he's going to get into that later. But we still need to meet our special guest, returning guest, Darren Dykhouse.
Hello, I'm with Lakeshore Paranormal. I started a YouTube channel. Most of the work goes on there. I also have. I'm also on Twitter and Facebook. I do a lot of collaborations with Jamie here from
Hi.
Jamie Ray Paranormal Wonders. Anything you would like to say?
Well, we actually ended up meeting for a collaboration. That's how we actually found out about each other. And
met through Rob.
he was, I was like our friend from Michigander, man, on YouTube. We all kind of collaborated together, and it was really crazy because then I found out that him and I actually come from the same city.
Nice.
Literally went to the same school, and I had no idea. I'm like, I knew he looked familiar, but I was like, I was literally like, wow. And I'm like, we would have crossed paths in a school. It was like, huge over the years. And I did know of his brother because of football, things like that. But I was like, holy cow, what a small world. And I'm like, after that, it was almost like just instant connection for the paranormal.
Yeah.
The paranormal world is full of those coincidences that nobody believes in. I don't think you psychics believe in that at all.
I don't necessarily say that. I don't believe. I think that everything happens for a reason. I think that people come into your life to either be a lesson or a blessing. That's the way I've always looked at things. And trying to keep positivity alive, keeping an open mind. People every day have different experiences. It can be something random that you bump into, you see, or it could be a dream. It can be like, and we as women sometimes have women's intuition. So it's a huge thing about us. And I'm like, so is it really women's intuition, or is it a psychic medium? You know what I mean? Like,
mothers seem to have an intuition.
Yes. And I'm like,
I agree with that.
I noticed that my ability is really heightened, after I had my daughter. And I'm like the minute I went through that change, so many things happened for me that was very different than what I was used to. These abilities I've had since I was a kid. So I'm like, I remember my first experience at 5. I was like 5 or 6, and I was at my grandparents' house, and I ended up seeing something in my grandmother, like this upstairs bedroom that I was sleeping in, and their neighbor passed away, but nobody knew yet, and I saw him standing in the bedroom.
Nice.
And I went downstairs the next day, and I kept saying, Grandma, like, this person was in my room last night, and she just looked at me like, what? Come to find out, the neighbor comes over, shows up and says, yeah, so-and-so passed away. I don't want to leave names out, just in case, but they passed away or whatever. And then she was huge in the Catholic faith. So she started talking to me about something called discernment of spirit. And I was kind of like, 6. I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, what are you talking about, But she started talking about that, and I still remember that conversation.
Talking about discernment?
Discernment of spirit. It's something that is actually found in the Bible for people that end up having, like, gifts or abilities. And my grandmother was very, very, very active, like in the Catholic faith. So it was, like, very strong foundation for that. But, as I grew up, I would say that I became more spiritual than religious, I guess. And so it's like, I do believe in God. I do believe in heaven and hell. I do believe in those things. I just think that there's more interpretation out there than, than one religion. So I consider myself more spiritual.
Yeah. Jamie Ray, our featured guest. Hopefully we can get you to come out of your shell.
Yeah, that was so hard, right?
Right, because what we want to cover smudging, right? Because I know you don't. I knew you weren't nervous about.
You're good.
Wow.
You're good.
Yeah, that's
I
exactly
just told
what we're
her,
looking
hey,
for.
just think of it as your own live streams. She does.
Yeah. I was like,
I still don't do live streams. She does them almost like twice a week, and I'm just like.
yeah, I've been slacking lately,
I'm-
but yeah.
I had a little bit of a social anxiety issue. Doing the YouTube thing is slowly getting me out of my shell, but it's kind
Okay.
of
Yeah,
nice.
and hanging out with me because
Yeah.
my personality, like. But yeah, I was like, I told them I was like, I'm like, it's okay to always be yourself. Be humble, be yourself. Be who you are and do things the way you feel they need to get done. And I'm like, you're able to respect other people's opinions and suggestions and things like that, but you really only accept your own at the end of the day. So it's like at the end of the day, what you processed, it's what you feel happened. It's what you saw happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing some of the same messages that we've had a couple of psychic mediums on already. Of course, they all say they do it a little bit different.
Yeah.
I know you said you use a specific kind of a tarot card, not really a tarot card.
I had them with me too, and I was gonna grab them, but like I said, I was kind of in a rush with a kiddo trying to get her to a football game. But I have mediumship cards and like oracle cards, transformation cards, and the one that I particularly use now is Angel Tarot. It tends to work more in the positive, to stay like within the light, and I've noticed that like with tarot in general, people tend to get freaked out. They start thinking of it as like black magic or witchcraft and things like that, and I try to keep myself in the light worker side of it.
Okay.
I try to stay away from the darkness. So
Yeah.
I'm like, so I try to do that, but instead of having pentacles, wands, rods, and
Rods.
cups, yeah, for
Aren't
the
these-
no, I meant for tarot. When you're looking at tarot, you get pentacles, rods, wands, and cups. Those are your 4 major, kind of like what you see in your minor arcana or major arcana. Those ones. These ones actually do earth, air, fire, and water.
Okay.
So-
I question that for just the listeners. We have viewers and just listeners because you have dowsing rods sitting in front of you. Now I have a smudging pot sitting in front of me. You had a pot.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that. But we want to stick with our format a little bit, and we do a review. So we're going to review the last time Darren was on. We're going to review our last podcast. And we're going to do some reviewing because Brandon's into everything. He's everywhere all the time.
Yeah, and I had the pleasure of getting to actually have a video chat with him, and that was amazing. And I'm like, I got to, it was after watching the podcast with him and Brandon and you that one day, and I saw him. I was like, I'm like, there's somebody standing next to Brandon. You know what I mean? And I felt it, and I'm like,
Right.
I told Darren to have him get a hold of me if he wanted a reading, and sure enough, he did. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, we're gonna.
I gotta know more about this. I didn't hear about this.
Yeah,
yeah.
we're gonna revisit that too, right?
I'm gonna let Brandon tell most of that
Yes,
part.
I can't wait.
I want to get into the review about Laura first, get that taken care of, because I like to thank the previous guest. And I have notes from Laura, and then this was, I don't know if you guys are into astrology at all.
Little
If-
bit.
if
A little
this-
bit.
If you can understand this star chart that she did. It's, for the listeners, it's very geometric. It actually reminds me of Dark Side of the Moon, the prism and the different colors through the dark side of the moon. And then she tried to explain this to me. It was just me. So I'm glad to have the rest of the panel back here today to help me out with this stuff. But
I understand more numerology than I do astrology.
oh, okay. Now, I think a message that she got across was that we all have choices, and then astrology helps us to understand ourselves and improve ourselves. You know, I went into this, I'm asking her, is it paranormal? Is it an art? Is it science? Is it pseudoscience? Is it a gift? Is it a religion, part of a religion? And what the conclusion we came, it's maybe parts of all those things. And it's connected in different ways. The psychic part of her, she's like an intuitive reader. She reads her charts intuitively. So, because she uses that psychic ability to help read her charts. Because it can get to a point where people can see the same thing and read it differently, because there's interpretation that's involved in that. So
Yeah, every person, it depends on your behavior, your environment, where you're raised. I'm like the parents you had, the situations you've lived in. I mean, everybody has a different take and a different perception. And so whenever, like me and Kim just met today, you know what I mean? And of course, she lives in a whole nother city and she does a whole different side of paranormal than I do. But I'm like, but still, I bet if we worked together that we would find some commonalities in there. Sure. But the way we were raised, and stuff, like she may look at her particular gift as just women's intuition, where I use mine to cultivate. I've honed that in and used it for something else.
Kim is very unique in
Oh,
what
yeah.
she does, right? The rest of us are kind of
think you're
similar.
beautiful.
Brandon
Thank you.
and Darren, you do similar things with your teams, the way you are paranormal investigators. And then Kim, I find her hanging out in hospitals, and Brandon hanging out in cemeteries.
I do
So
too.
they are a little bit different, or quite a bit different in what they
Yeah.
do.
I'd rather be in the cemetery than the hospital, though. Just saying. That's just my opinion, but yeah.
One of the traits that Laura brought up was that I know how to surround myself with the right people. I mean, who you guys aren't going to disagree with that. I
Right.
don't think.
Yeah. Like-mindedness.
Yep.
She talked about delving into the mystery of things, and that's what we do on this program. I wasn't even sure it was paranormal when I started out, but what I am sure about now is it has paranormal possibilities, and that's why astrology made for a good show. She talked about, is it esoteric? Is it just appealing to a certain small group? Is it cryptic? Yes, it is. I think it is. It's mysterious. It is mysterious, even though it's astrology and astronomers. It's a science. It's exact measurements. And we talked about, are we in the age of Aquarius already? And the conclusion was by 2020, and that it's got a ring to it. 2020. If we're not there already, we're going to be in Aquarius, and what that brings with it: arts, medical advancements, all good
Aquarius,
things.
I believe Aquarius and Gemini, and I'm trying to think of them, they're all air signs. So because of that, they all actually work with their spiritual side, their wisdom, their intellect. And so it'll bring out creativity and more open-mindedness when it comes to spirituality.
Open-mindedness and socialness, acceptance of each other. So that's what we can look forward to. I'm thinking we're already seeing that in our
Yep.
society,
I heard there's going to be a shift of consciousness. Basically, us opening our third eyes a little more.
Yep.
And Brandon talked about that on his Spirit Doorway podcast, and then it's like Steve Wilson was in here, her friend, the psychic medium from Australia, talking about the Moldavite, only because Bill Konkoleski talked about it in his book. That's where we first were referenced with the moldavite. Now, you use any crystals?
I do actually. I
January?
brought some with. Yeah, I was like, you know what? I forgot to grab them out of the bag, but I did.
Citrine is another one that I'm looking into because of the properties. And I'm like Brandon said on his podcast, he's not necessarily a believer and never was of the magic of the stones. But after the significance of this, the coincidence of this coming up over and over, I went out and got some. They all went out and got, they all have moldavite now. Oh, yeah, you have quite a variety.
Wow. I brought some with to share with you guys because I
Oh, yeah,
wasn't
you
for
had
sure.
some last time,
I
right?
did too.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's my grandmother's
And I
rosary.
think that's still hematite or obsidian. This is actually good for empaths. This is supposed to absorb negative emotions from other people. It's
Right, so review.
Apache tier.
Darren's empath.
I am. I'm an empath.
He's had near-death experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up with 4 brothers. I had several near-death experiences. All older brothers.
I'm the baby in the family.
Yeah, mostly. I'm actually an only child, so I don't have.
She
any
always
brothers
has the
and
pretty
sisters.
ones. Wow, you jealous of her?
Darren, yours are black. Gee, that's a shocker.
I keep telling him to get some color in his life.
What
Like,
are
every
a
time
couple
I
of
see him
those
does
green
that.
ones? That one that Darren grabbed there.
Oh, this right here actually is a blue aura quartz.
Bluish, right?
Wow.
It's a smaller version. Usually you find them a little like with the bigger raw forms are actually huger. They almost look like little icebergs. The way they come out, they're really pretty or whatever, but they're expensive. So I'm like, I stuck to my little baby one right here for that one. But this is amethyst. It's just these are raw crystals, but they were form shaped into a wand. So this is amethyst. This is obsidian. I actually got this tiger's
Describe
eye.
them a little bit just for the listeners
Oh.
because we have viewers and listeners.
Oh, I
so.
plan on it. I was like, yeah, one of these. But I was like, yeah, this is actually a chunk of raw green adventuring, which is supposed to help with heart. Greens and pinks, your rose quartz and your greens actually work with your heart chakra. So they tend to work with that. Also, they help you to put your mind at ease, like with money, luck, and fortune, that kind of stuff. Helps with financial concerns, with your stress and that nature. Tiger's eye has always been a protective. This one has always been a grounding stone. Browns and reds usually work with your feet to keep you grounded and to help you to stay firmer to the ground with things when it comes to your spiritual nature. Obsidian helps to ward off negative. It also helps to, if you hold on to it, it can also help keep that negative emotion from being in your mind at the time. Purple is amethyst, and this actually, when you think of purple, you automatically think of royalty or the crown when you look at that, because it actually works with your third eye or the mindset, your brain.
It's kind of purple. That's a royal color. Purple.
Royal color, yep. Think of it that way. That's the way I've always tried to remember amethyst and explaining it with chakras, is that it works with that mind. It helps with that mind connection for body, mind, and soul. And then this is actually unique, and it took me a minute. I had to get a hold of a friend of mine to find out exactly what stone this was, because my mom gave it to me. And she couldn't remember the name of it, whatever, and we actually found out this is a yellow phantom quartz.
Oh, wow.
And I had never seen one before. It does look almost kind of like a citrine, but it's actually considered a phantom. The way it has like a milky look in it. It almost looks like a yellow.
Citrine can have an orange, a brownish, even reddish, I think, color.
Yeah, and I do have citrine too, but I'm like, I didn't bring it with me. But I was like, this is actually smoky quartz. And this one also can do more with grounding for
some of
meditation and things like that. I saw this at a store one day, and I'm like, I don't know why, but I like beeline for it. Like it was almost like I walked in, and out of everything that was in there, I could see this thing just
I
like
see
shine.
a purple tint
Yeah.
there, too.
Yeah, I was like, you might need to get your eyes checked, though, babe. I was like, this has got a gold. I'm just kidding. It's,
Gold. I
It's like
see
a
that.
golden brown. Yep. This is amethyst.
Sure
as
looks
well.
purple to me.
Little
Kyanite.
purple. I see it. I see what you're saying.
Oh, I can see with my hand in back of it. It looks kind of brownish.
Yeah. I
But,
was like,
but
That
it's
one's
like it's
really pretty.
crystal. It's like clear.
yep, it's very pretty. It's like it's a smoky quartz, but it's good with grounding. But I was like, I walked into the store and I was like, everything else that was there was, rugs, bracelets, pendulums, you name it, whatever. And all of a sudden I just see this thing sitting on the shelf, and I'm like mesmerized by it. And I was like,
cool.
that was really pretty. But selenite is one of my favorites. And I'm like, that one you actually can keep with you in your pocket at any time. And the beautiful thing about these and like gypsum is that if you hold on to them, if you're having anxiety, fear, nervousness, anger, anything like that, whatever it is, you keep it in your pocket. You can hold it in your hand, or you can just keep it in your pocket, put your hand on it and stuff, absorb that energy. And what's cool about these is that you cannot use salt to cleanse them. You have to use sage, because the salt will actually deteriorate the stone. It's very lightweight.
When
It
you
looks
say-
kind of white, chalky.
Yeah. When you say
is, yeah,
cleanse them,
definitely.
do you
Oh,
mean in
yeah.
a spiritual way?
Yeah, like
okay.
because
That's what
I should
thought you meant.
say that too. Yeah, I was like, when you have crystals, the way to take care of them, the way to actually keep them charged, and no joke, this is true, you take them out, and in a full moon, you literally leave them outside overnight during the full moon. It charges the crystals back up. And then when you bring them back in, if the ones that you have can't be cleansed with like a salt cleanse, you can use salt to also take energy away too. It's a protective measure. But if you use like sea salt or pink Himalayan salt or anything like that, you can cleanse them in those, and it'll help take that negativity off of it.
Do you
And
actually encircle it with the salt, or do you sprinkle it
the
on
the ones that you have that can actually be in water, you just take them and put them in like a little water salt bath almost, and you let them just kind of sit there overnight, and then you take them out, and then they're cleansed. The ones that you have to use sage to cleanse, or like Palo Santo wood, that helps to clear the energy, because people are always like, well, you use these to clean energy or to protect or whatever, but how do you actually get rid of the energy that's on them? It's like, how do you get rid of them?
Like to start over.
Right, like to kind of refresh it or whatever, and that's what you do. You charge them in the moonlight, and then you cleanse them, and then you literally put them back into your space or wherever it is, and it helps to create that wave of
How
getting rid of it.
interesting is that? You might get attacked by a werewolf, but at least your crystals will get recharged. Now, do you pull out certain ones? Say you're at a house and you get a certain feeling. You think, I need to get grounded. I need my grounding stone. You pull that out.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I actually keep some of these right in my pocket with me
Yeah,
when
all
I
the
go into
time.
house investigations and stuff. I have my grandmother's rosary too, and I keep that in my pocket. Even though I'm not of the Catholic faith, I still believe that her intent, like her faith was very strong. And she literally put that into the people that were around her, and because her faith was strong, I feel like it's infused with a lot of energy.
Sure.
And so I feel like it's a way to keep my grandmother around for like protection, and grounding. And so I carry that with me on investigations.
I was gonna put all my crystals out last Friday when the whole full moon and
All right.
Friday
That
the
special
13th.
moon,
That
right.
was
That's not going to happen again, probably in my
another
lifetime.
20
Yeah, I
years,
did that too.
right.
The full,
Yeah.
the
30.
full moon that just passed, I put
30
all my
years,
crystals
yeah.
out in there, and I'm like, oh yeah, Friday the 13th. I'm like, as soon as I get done investigating with him and freaky places,
Yeah, of
and then
course,
I'm like, and then I
yeah,
come
true.
home and I'm like, oh yeah, full moon, gotta charge these.
Right.
And like I
Yeah.
scooped them all up and brought them outside.
We went to an old Indian land cemetery. We found one. We always find these weird little cemeteries in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
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 Well, to review you, when you were here, we talked about some different things. We had some common places that we went to, so we brought up this
Yeah,
building
I've been
here.
trying to get in contact with him recently. I know he goes to. I want to try to get there before he goes to Florida this year again, but if not,
The old Allegan County
yeah, the
jail.
Allegan County Jail.
Right. I mean, you brought up some creepy stuff, memories for Brandon there, especially for him. And then what else did we talk about when you were here? But I know you said you had some things coming up. You had the Hackley tomb that you were going to.
I
and
did.
also
That
the
took out pretty good.
Stimson Hospital. So maybe
yeah.
you can comment on those.
Yeah, those videos are up on my channel now, and they did pretty good. Got a lot of good comments on those. Recently, I just put out, my partner Dave and I, we went to a kind of a favorite place of mine to go. It's called Brickyard Cemetery, and it's old Presbyterian church from the 1800s, and it's just sitting there abandoned. That place is pretty active. I guess the story is there was a bigger part of the cemetery, and they tore it down, and now it's just. I had confirmation from a spirit saying that there was a mass grave there. So I wonder
somebody
if
just dug a big hole. And
I wonder if that's why it's so active.
Indians or
No, just regular.
There was
well,
a mass grave at Van Buren County too. Remember we went there because they didn't have a tomb,
But
like tombstones.
Believe it or not, at Brickyard there is one too, but we don't
Yeah.
know where.
Yeah,
I'm assuming in the back. I don't know.
probably.
there's
Yeah.
some of these sicknesses, and plagues and stuff. People would die in mass
Yeah.
amounts. I could maybe see that.
Well, from what I hear, they tore it down and they put everyone in a mass grave.
Oh.
Which is, that's even worse, I
Right.
think.
Yeah, 'cause
You know, you think you're rested for life. You know, if you are buried in a cemetery, I guess it's not forever.
See, I think that creates a certain type of a spirit that comes back. This entity isn't necessarily.
Unrested.
They don't want to play with you. You
Mhm.
know, they're upset over what's happened.
Yeah.
You mess with their grave.
Yeah.
try being able to see them.
You see them
Mm-hmm.
angry.
I can see, sense, feel, hear, all of it. And like when we go places and stuff, I'm like, we went to, that's what I was saying, is we went to Van Buren County Poorhouse, and next to it used to be a hospital. And there was, it was actually a beautiful place, but had a lot of stairs. Oh my gosh. I'm like, that place was huge, but there was this particular room, and I kept telling him the very first time we went there, I said, I keep feeling like there's a mother and daughter in that room. And we went in there, and sure enough, I'm like, I had my camera just right there, and I could see the silhouette of a taller woman and the child standing next to her, and all of a sudden, right out of the wall is this like white light orb, just comes right out of the wall, goes up like this, down, and literally when it comes down like this, it almost looks like it spreads wings. And like when you look at it, you can tell that it is not a bug. This is an actual light source.
Well, you saw it with your naked eye.
I saw it with my own eye,
Right.
absolutely. And then we went back there for a return visit, and I went in that room, and I was sitting down, and I said, I don't feel like the mother and daughter in here anymore. I said, I feel like a male just walked in, and immediately on the box, whatever, we heard him say his name. And I was like, literally, he came in, and it was like that. And I'm like, we caught that, too. And I was like, the change happened, like, immediately, and I felt it. And I told him, I was like, there's a man that just walked in here. I was like, I felt it. And all of a sudden, you just hear in the box, it was like, oh, Patrick. That's what he said his name was. I said,
That's not a real common name.
and I said, how did you die? And he said, window. And I actually,
Well, one of the stories from Van Buren is there was a guy that killed himself by jumping
being out
out the
of
window.
the third story window. And should I tell him about the dream?
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, because I was like, that was in the video. The very first time we went there, I actually had a dream the night before, and I told him about it the next day, and I said, I've never been to this place. I haven't Googled it. I don't know what it looks like. I have no idea what it is. But I had this dream, and I was walking in a hallway, and that's all I could see was this long hallway. And I saw 3 rooms. The first room I literally saw a group of people standing in there. And I see the last 2, which were a woman and a child, like just go up in smoke, like up in flame and smoke. And I was like, okay, so that must be somebody who died in a fire. Like, I got that. Then I leave, I'm like, in my dream, I'm walking past the second room, and I see 2 males in there. One was hanging from a rafter. The other one was laying on the floor, and I didn't know why. He was crumpled up on the floor, but I literally associated that with a suicide, both in my dream and when I told him. I said, I feel like 2 suicides happened in that building. The very last one, though, and I couldn't figure out why, because I had no idea, but I felt there was a man that was a murderer. And I said, this was like a murder room. I said, I saw like a man stab another woman. And after that, it was like I woke up. Like, it was like I was done. I woke up. And then when we get there, you literally go up the stairs. And technically, it's 4 rooms on the right instead of 3. But the very last room that was there was a jail barred-in door. And it was because they actually had a guy housed in there in that jail room for murdering a girlfriend in the 60s. And I saw that. I was like, and when I told the curator, I was like, why did I see people up in smoke in my dream? And he said there was 14 people that were actually killed in a fire in that building. And one of them was a mother and a daughter. And they were buried in a mass grave somewhere out on the property. And
You're
then
spooky.
and then there was two men that did die from suicide. One did hang himself from a rafter in the building, and the other one jumped out the third-story window.
You know, it's easy to see how suicides and murderers lead to unrest, you know, in the spirit world. That's why I would always qualify that we weren't here to judge. We're not here to judge you, you know, however you died. That's up to you.
Yep.
But those are the people that really need the help, I think, to get everything back in line and move on with their mission, whatever that is. Maybe you should talk a little bit about what you and Brandon.
I was gonna say,
Brandon.
what was your first experience? Like, what got you into the paranormal?
Me?
Yeah, well, you guys, like, that was kind of like round the room table.
Right. Well, so many of us that we have here around at this table got an early start. I was no different. I was 5 years old. I had a ghost hunting grandpa that was coaching me at 5 years old.
That's awesome.
You know?
Thanks, Gramps.
Yeah. So
Okay,
ghost
that's
whispering.
why I picked up on your grandfather.
Right.
And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, I picked on that right away.
So I've been a true believer forever, you know.
Wow.
And so many of the people that come on this show have the similar stories where they got an early start. Yeah. I know. Go ahead. Well, we've told these stories before, but.
Yeah. Well, mine started when I was well, my paranormal experience started when I was a kid. Like, I had like a shadow figure that would open my door and like stare at me. You know, it was this negative energy, and like everything in my life had like this negative. Like I was being bullied a lot and stuff like that. And you know, eventually I prayed. I'm like, you know, I need help here, because I was at the point where I was contemplating suicide. Like I was really close to that point. And so eventually then I started seeing this figure that. This guy with like long blonde hair, and it would emit his own light. Like it would light up a dark room, like just from him. And like I felt like that traced away whatever the shadow figure, like that kicked him out, and like everything in my life changed. Like the people that were bullying me, I became friends with, and stuff like that. So it's like that whole, I think that shadow was impacting other people in my life. Like my mom had went into a really bad depression at that point in time too, where she was like out of it, and like everything changed. Like she came out of it and stuff once this light figure came in and kicked out the negative energy.
Wow. It's like a guardian angel of
Yeah.
some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, well, the thing is, though, is that us as psychic mediums, though, and I did tell you that when we were talking, that I did feel that you had intuitive abilities, that you are technically a medium yourself.
Yeah.
And the problem is that us as mediums, we don't realize as kids, you know, that we're like a beacon. You know what I mean? Like we're a light source. Like they come to us, and it's almost like they want to communicate and tell their story. But if you can't understand what they're saying, or you're too scared to communicate, you bring in that fear, which then brings in depression, negativity, emotions, and it's attracted to that.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is that being able to fight something off like that, like I'm glad I had a grandmother who knew what I was talking about when I said that, because she was the one who taught me how to protect myself. Like, you know, and the same thing with you, but I'm like, you know, a guardian angel will protect you.
Yeah.
You know, but you got to call upon them sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, they're not just going to show up. They want to be called upon. They want to know that you're needed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I call upon them in my smudging.
Yeah.
I call whatever help I can get when I'm smudging. Did you get an early start too, Kim?
I did actually. I was spending the night. Why does everything happen with grandparents? I don't know why.
Yeah.
They're
but
more
I was,
honest, maybe.
I don't know.
I think
but
it's just they've lived longer.
I was spending the night at Grandma and Grandpa's house too, and wouldn't you know, they lived right across the street from a
cemetery.
From a cemetery.
Right.
Of course they did.
Right.
Yep.
Of course.
That's not a coincidence. Just so you
Yeah.
know. Your grandmother had abilities too. That's why.
And I don't know how old I was. Somewhere between the age of 6, 7, and, you know, somewhere right around there. Old enough where I have memory of it, but then young enough where I don't really remember anything else around that time frame. But it's ingrained in my memory. Like, it's something that I'll never forget. So the guest bedroom was in the front of the house, and they had a big picture window in the front, and the bed was facing the cemetery, and I saw some sort of ghostly figure that had a humanoid shape to it by one of the gravestones, and it literally hung out there for what seemed like a long time. And I kept watching it, and like kept thinking, trying to debunk it in my own brain as a 7-year-old, trying to debunk this, right? I'm like, it can't be wind. It can't be a cloud because it's just kind of right near the ground and there's no other clouds or mist around it. It's this lonely mist, right?
Yep.
And it just kind of hung out right by that single gravestone.
Yep.
And I just kept watching it, thinking to myself, this can't be real. This can't be real.
We also have an innocence about us when we're younger, too, until we get to that point of what's known as reasoning. Like, we don't rationalize our thoughts until about 10, about
I was
10.
younger than 10
Yep.
for sure.
Yep.
And I just kept thinking to myself, this can't be real. What am I seeing here? And after that, it was probably just went away after a little bit of time. I don't remember. Probably fell asleep or something. But that was my one and only. But as I've gone into the paranormal investigation field, I've had a lot of instances as an adult now, where I don't feel like I have psychic medium abilities. I don't pick up on anything. But I've seen stuff other people have done and witnessed and heard things in my paranormal investigation instances where I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
I'm blown away.
Yeah.
I'm
I think
a
you kind of
believer.
have like that. I think you also have that science take. Like you want to be able to see it, feel it, touch it, and it's
I
it's
do
like-
feel like I have
Yeah.
a little bit of that scientific.
Yeah.
I know, Brandon, you're kind of that
That's
way
him.
too. That I think you said at one time you used to be more scientific in it, where
Yeah.
you would try and debunk everything.
Mm-hmm.
Have you kind of switched gears with that now a little bit?
I feel like for mine, like after like I had the experiences in my childhood, it was like kind of teenage years, and like after that, I think I just kind of got to the point where just as a self-defense mechanism, I shut it off, and then like when I got older, then all of a sudden like around 2011, I started seeing some paranormal. Like I want to get and learn more about this.
Right.
So I started off much more on the scientific, kind of like the Ghost Hunter type TV show, starting that way, investigating, and like the more I've gotten into, I think the more my abilities have been opening up, and it's been like, especially recently, it's been amping up much more.
There's something about the teenagers where they know it all, I guess.
Yeah.
And you got a whole different attitude as a teenager.
Yeah.
My friends, I've told them the stories, and they go, your grandfather ministers his own church? Maybe it's just trying to put the fear of God in you.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yep.
I thought that made sense. So I went back to Grandpa, and he told me all over, coached me, and he said keep an open mind about things I might not easily believe, even things like vampires. I mean, is that something you tell a 5-year-old? I don't know.
Only if you want to scare the crap out
No
of them.
wonder I'm on this show.
I believe in energy vampires, but I don't know about the actual blood-sucking demons from.
Well, I want to hear about what you saw.
Oh yeah. Okay.
With him.
Yeah. What actually initially made me talk to Darren. Well, of course I was like, congratulations, you're on a podcast. I'm proud of you. You're my buddy. But I was like, but Darren, I was actually trying to get him to tell you. I'm like, I see a man standing next to him. And I was like, and he's like, you did? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, it looked like a grandfather. And I said, I feel
Next to Brandon.
Next to Brandon, yeah. During the podcast that he was on, I said, I swear to God, I saw a man standing right behind Brandon to the side.
Yeah, because we had the same layout here.
Yep.
You weren't here, obviously, so I was next to you, and then Brandon was still on this side. So where, in terms of where was the guy?
Kind of right here by his right shoulder, almost.
So
and
in
it was
between
standing.
me and him.
Yep, he was standing right there, and it was
Nice.
almost I saw it almost but it's not. It's the way they want to present themselves. You know what I mean? So it's a little different on how they show themselves. It's like. It looked. I don't have a clue of what his grandfather really looked like because I've never met the guy. But I was like, but this guy seemed like an older gentleman to me, and this is what I picked up on. As I said, an older male, and I was like, I feel like a grandfather, and he and I ended up kind of getting to know each other through him.
Sure.
And I kind of told him what I saw. And what I was picking up on, and honestly, I wrote stuff down in my notebook or whatever, and I'm like, I'm hoping that you've got all the information I told you because that was a long conversation.
I still have the notes. I just don't have them with me.
Yeah, I was like, I know that you were sort of shocked too because I picked up on a lot of things, and I think I remember it was like I said something about having a green thumb or gardening or something or.
Is
something like that.
Yeah, he
Is
worked
that
in
true? Yeah,
landscaping.
and out
Oh, there
and
you go.
outdoors. And I said I saw a man, and I was like, he kind of looks like you but older. And I said he had just a little bit more of a like a heft to him, but not heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, but I saw him, and I said he kind of looks like you but an older version.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and I just kept picking up on him, and I said he was out. I was like outdoorsman. I kept seeing something to do with flowers or gardening. I think it had something to do with, I think I remember something about yellow roses maybe, but I
The
can't.
important thing to note is
Yeah.
Brandon's grandfather had just passed away
Yeah,
3 months ago at the most, right?
It was May, I believe. Yeah.
Okay,
Wow.
right. So,
Yeah. So it was
I
a-
think
it was-
that's what
So
you
it was
were
only, a
picking
few
up
months
on,
before,
and you
yeah.
didn't know anything about that.
No,
Right.
I had no idea that he had somebody pass or anything. Like nobody fed me information. I didn't Google
Trying to
it.
think, when
I
was
wouldn't
I
even know
on?
what to Google. Like
That was in
people don't understand
June, I
this. Like
think,
you
wasn't
can
it?
you can
June?
have the same name. You
It
know
was
what I
like
mean?
really
And-
hot outside.
Yeah,
I
it was
remember
hot.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
was.
was like people
It was
have
in the
this different
midst
stuff.
of summer.
Kim's very first show. It was
Oh,
Darren's.
yes. Oh,
And
wow.
we have the most views from your show.
Really? Wow.
So I don't know if you knew that
You
or not.
rocked that podcast, dude.
Right.
Let me
I was
tell
so
you.
nervous.
Well,
I've
you
had a
didn't
couple-
show it. Put
I've
it that
had
way.
a couple other interviews since then, so I'm getting better at it.
Yeah, I told him. I was like, "Be good, or I'll kick your shin." I was kidding. I'm kidding. No, I'm just kidding. No, actually, I posted his podcast on my Facebook fan page as well, and I'm like, and he's getting there though. He's like 50 subs away from 1K, so I'm
almost to
so
that
excited.
1K.
I know.
I'm so
the
excited.
Ghostbusters were helping you out too, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. No, I was like, I think I hit like 1.6 or something like that. It's like 1,600 and something, something like that. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I was like, I got up there, but I was like, yeah, I was like, whenever he has videos that he posts, live streams, anything like that, I tell him like just post it to my page too, and I'm like, let people know about it. I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, he's a friend. I'm like we investigate together. A lot of some of the places more recently we've done together anyway. So it's like just do it. But I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, Darren does these videos, YouTube videos. And when you were here, you were frustrated with the editing part of it. Has that gotten better?
Yeah. It's a trial and error when it comes to editing. When I first started this, I mean, I went to media production in high school. It was more of like trade school and stuff. So I have a little bit of it in me. I'm still kind of a computer nerd, so it came easy for me. So editing. But
Well, I see you've got a
having to do-
fancy dancy new microphone there.
yeah, hey.
Hey.
I just got that today, actually.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
a speaker for a speaker
nice.
box.
I
Yeah,
want to give that a try soon.
Is it a speaker or a microphone?
Yeah, it's a speaker.
Okay.
speaker.
On a spirit box, so you can pick up those
Yeah, the
ghost voices.
SB7, you really need it. Once it
Yeah,
sweeps,
it's-
it's really quiet for whatever
I'm
reason.
actually thinking about getting that SB11. I know there's a lot of mixed things about it, but I've seen a lot of other YouTubers have good results with it, so I
Yeah.
might give it a try.
So Lakeshore Paranormal does private investigations, and you do the famous investigations too.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
commercial properties and
Yeah.
that. But we talked about the smudging, and then that's where Jamie Ray comes in. So we want to get into the smudging because
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
also what I do, and it's the only thing I'm doing now. I'm not really out investigating, but if someone has something, they know it's there, they want it out now, call me, or call Jamie Ray. But we're going to talk about the way you do it and exactly what smudging is all about. Let's get some definitions of it and some of the tools that we use. The ritual of smudging is defined as spiritual house cleansing. And then sage. This is a giant
Yeah, I was
bundle
like,
of
that's
white
beautiful.
sage I have.
I was
here.
like, I
awesome.
was literally like, can I have that?
This was a gift, and I sometimes leave sage behind, or I would at houses because I'm encourage people to
Yeah.
smudge themselves, and we want to empower them so they can do their own prayers and that, and because it's something that should be done on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
If you're prone to it, people all around this table should be smudging themselves on a regular basis.
Yep.
Even Kim, Kim's also trained in paranormal investigating,
Right.
not just the ghost busting.
Right.
So I mean, and you're rubbing elbows, and you're in these areas.
Let's be clear. The Ghostbuster thing is a charity thing that I do. Really, I say Ghostbusters, but it's more of a nonprofit place where we can help charities. It's not really in the sense of paranormal investigating, but I
Right.
have I do that. as
Fighting
well.
the Stay Puff Marshmallow.
I know.
I know,
Hey,
right?
if Marshmallow
Somebody's
Man
gotta
ever
fight
shows
it.
up, right? Who's gonna be there?
I was like, yeah, I was like, the softest thing you can think of is a State Puff Marshmallow Man.
Right.
I'm there. I'm like,
Right.
I'm there. I'm like, let's do that. But I was like, yeah.
The word sage literally means to heal. So when Jamie Ray goes into these places, whenever I guess the people probably are the ones that are demanding it, right? They say they want it out, and then
Also
what's some of the stuff that you
What
burn?
is
You
this?
stuff
Palo Santo
sage
wood.
can
Oh, that
can be
smells
pretty
good.
stinky.
This is actually Palo Santo wood, which is a blessed wood, and it actually comes from Peru, and it's for spiritual cleansing, healing, infusing your life or like rooms with love and light and positivity and things like that. Like that way, like when you're at home, I actually, when I burn it, since it does get kind of like an ash quality, this is gonna seem a little funky, but I do this whatever. When I do a cleansing in my home, I start from the back of my house, and I literally sage each room individually or use Palo Santo wood to infuse love. The ash from it, I actually wipe on my finger and I'll draw crosses above the doorways on
Okay.
it to bless. And I've also stuck like obsidian crystal underneath my daughter's mattress and things like that for protection.
People do the same thing with oils and
Yep.
holy water, the
Yep.
cross over the
Yep. And,
windows and doors.
because I have so much like energy that like it can affect you on an everyday life. So I definitely try to do something to cleanse the house, and I push it out. But I was like, I open up my side door basically, it goes right through my kitchen, and I have that open, and then literally I move the sage like around like to push all the energy out the door. So I'm like, anything that does not belong here needs to go out that door. Once I have that out, I literally do the Palo Santo cross above my door, and I actually use red brick dust or salt and put it up there so they can't re-enter.
So you do the cleansing and the blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And then I start at the northernmost point or the front door. Either way, work clockwise, circular motions
Yep.
with my feathers spreading.
Oh, I love that.
And we
That's
open
awesome.
up. We open up all of the cupboards and doors, as many as we can, and then inside, so that smoke will
Wow, yeah,
penetrate
everywhere.
that.
Yep.
I also call it's a pagan ritual.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
yep.
So
Yep.
I call on the four winds, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and but yeah, I run a particular way. I use particular prayers.
Yeah, I call on Archangel Michael. And then I'm like, I also do like what I do for myself though. First, to ground myself, is I always say, let the light of God surround me, let the love of God enfold me, and let the power of God protect me. And I'm asking this in Jesus' name, amen. And then I literally use that Palo Santo wood at that time or sage to cleanse myself. And then that's when I start afterwards. Once I've kind of brushed that over me and put that light and that grounding in me, then I go through and do the cleansing.
Do you have the mantra? Do you repeat that? Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Like 3
yep.
times?
Yep. I do like a mantra until I feel like I've grounded myself. I'm like, even if I go from saying it out loud to like a whisper, I just do it to calmly get myself into a blessed or meditative state. So I just kind of put myself there, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to allow myself to calm because I don't want that negativity or that fear to
'Cause that's
show
what we're
up.
fighting is negative energies. That's what we want out of the
Yep.
house and out of the people. So I use the Ephesians 6:11, and that's all about fighting the devil. You know, the full armor of God. That's
Yep.
all about that. It's pretty much the same thing as the archangel. I do a mantra. I invoke the light of God within. I am a clear and perfect channel. Light is my guide. And I repeat that. I have the people in the house repeat that. I want them to do the prayers more than I do, but I start and I help them with it. I also do this one. Go in peace, be freed from your suffering, seek out the light. Those are the words of Jesus. And then at the end, I always go to Jesus to close any portals
Yes,
behind
yes.
me. Even though it's a pagan ritual,
Yep.
I still believe in God, and I believe
too.
that's the highest power
Yep.
that I can call
Well,
on.
Jesus is the human form. You know what I mean? Like, this is what people don't realize is he was placed here for us as to be something of like mind and of man. You know what I mean? So when you go to him, you're looking at God but in human form. And so you kind of have to remember that, like, he walked this earth, so he knows what it's like to be human. So he's the closest thing to actual God that we have to be able to form this, life with. And so, yeah, I seal all my prayers in Jesus' name. Absolutely.
Right,
Yep.
and encourage the client to do the same.
Yep.
Now, I use a prayer of St. Francis. I'm not Catholic, but Catholics have the best prayers. That's all.
Yes, it is. It's
That's
true.
true.
Amen to
And
that. I
just
agree.
I just bought a prayer book actually, and it has some amazing, really powerful prayers.
Yeah,
in
I
it.
saw that, and I was like,
Almost
oh
for,
God, I'm like, can I borrow that?
possessions
I was like
and
sending a
stuff,
couple
so-
screenshots.
That was
Yeah, I'd
really
hang on to those and separate those. I change the prayer depending on the client, older client, younger client. The younger ones, I might use more of the light reference and the cocoon of white light around you as protection. But with the older people, I go right out of the these and thys out of the Bible. But I ask the Lord to make me an instrument of the Lord's peace, and that's what I want to be. I want to be a conduit for that peace.
Yes.
So I think they're getting a somewhat of a grasp of what smudging's all about. I mean, there's a
Wayne,
lot
me
of
and you are
ritual.
kindred spirits. I'm telling you.
Oh.
I'm like right now. I'm just so in awe of you. I'm like, can I be you when I grow up, please?
Ah,
I'm like, I want to be you when I grow
you
up.
got a ways to go.
I know, but I figure if I got a mentor, I'm like, I'll just hang out with you for a while.
Well, that's flattering.
Well,
The-
you need to talk about this though too, because this is really important. You just
That's
got
a-
this.
Yeah,
Right?
this is buffalo sage,
Oh,
is
and
it?
so I'm like, I don't know if you get a chance you can smell that, whatever. But it is almost a form of white sage, but it's buffalo sage, and I actually
And does it
had a
smell any
friend-
different?
It's pretty much the same.
kind of I'm like that.
little.
What it is this is fresh picked.
It does
like
smell
she
fresh.
literally picked this and then sent it to me right in the mail after it was picked. So it's
But
it's
it's
fresh.
from Peru, you said.
Oh, no, I'm sorry,
No.
Canada.
Oh,
No,
Canada. I thought you said
I
Peru.
apologize. Palo Santo, what is made in
Oh,
Peru?
okay.
I'm sorry. It comes from a sacred tree. That's what they call it, or a sacred wood. It said that these particular trees that are in Peru are considered to have very healing properties, spiritual cleansing to them, and I'm trying not to make a butt of myself by saying I'm not sure if it's Peruvian or whatever, but the way they cultivate that and they use that. Well, this wood, Palo Santo, actually means sacred wood or blessed wood. And so because of that, it's said to actually be good for cleansings, especially for yourself. Now, I use this more for if I'm trying to instead of just saging myself, I use this because it has a good smell to it.
Right, the
Does.
sage does
And,
not
and
smell
for
that.
me, for me, I do sometimes have. I suffer from allergies myself, whatever. So certain perfumey scents and things like that can really mess with me. I actually use white sage or buffalo sage or white sage for cleansings when there is negativity around. Like when I can feel that in
right.
somebody's home
Right.
or whatever it is, I go to this. Or
That's
go
when I
to
dig
sage.
out special prayers.
Yes, special prayers and special, there's certain things. And when I feel there's a negativity or a negative entity, something like that, that's when I go towards, this is my go-to, my white sage. Palo Santo is more for in my home. I use that for more in my home or to cleanse myself first. But
Yeah, I
if I
like
feel
that.
if I have to combat something, I'm I go right to the sage.
Sage grows wild. I'm not sure if it's that buffalo sage that grows wild. I've seen some in some places that we've gone
Really?
to, up in the attics, that people have been there before. Smudging, obviously. They were trying to get the negative spirits
Oh,
out.
wow.
Yep.
We weren't able to review everything, but this is about the time that we need to get into the final thought.
Oh.
This is where everybody gets a chance to plug anything they got coming up.
Oh my
and
gosh.
then we talk about things that we might not have covered. And usually we cover a couple topics. I'm going to start out. Usually I go at the end because I'm the only one that's prepared, or maybe it's a surprise
I'm
for
never
you guys.
prepared.
I keep you guys surprised. But so my final thought has to do with what my grandpa told me at 5 years old, and that keep an open mind about things that you might not easily believe. So I want to know what from you guys. What would those things be? And we've had a lot of them on this show to pick from. So what would that be that you're not going to easily believe? Maybe you still have a ways to go before you can accept that. And then maybe where should we go on this podcast in the future? Who do we need to bring on? Bigfoot experts.
I don't know. I
was-
get a little strange when it comes to aliens. You know what I mean? Those are. I mean, I believe it's possible that there are other life forms and stuff. But I'm that. I don't know. It's just
Okay.
the whole Martian
Well, good.
man on
There's
Earth
yours.
kind of thing. I'm I don't know. I'm it's hard. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm open-minded to being proven wrong. You know what I mean? I'm like, I actually beg people, please prove me wrong. Like, show me.
Well,
Right.
you should read Bill
but-
Konkoleski's.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right?
I
Right,
watched that movie,
exactly.
The Fourth Kind, and that movie like
Oh,
creeped
that
me
was
out.
a freaky
Well,
one.
go back to one of our
Yeah.
podcasts, and when
Yeah.
we had Bill on, he's
He's been abducted so many times.
Whoa,
I
really?
mean, this man,
Yeah.
I'm blown
You
away
feel
by
empathy
him.
for anybody. Feel
Yeah.
it for him.
I was
I
like, yeah,
know.
I was like, I don't know. I just like, it makes me think of like a sci-fi movie. Like, you know, like I don't know if I can like get my head around being like probed. You know what I mean? Like, I
Right.
don't know.
I grew
It's
up
fun
on,
for me, but
I grew up on Star Wars. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I
Yeah.
collect all the helmets and stuff and all the memorabilia. But for me, I want to believe. You know, it's like one of those things. It's like
X-Files.
we're
I
just
tried that
we're
with
just
him.
too small. You know,
Yeah.
just a little tiny particle in this vast universe.
our minds
It's
can't
selfish of
comprehend
us
the
to think we're
infinite
alone.
things.
Statistically inevitable. That's the way Bill says
Yeah.
it.
Well,
So,
I agree.
so you believe,
I
you don't
believe.
believe in aliens. I'm having a hard
I
time with
believe-
flying
I believe-
cryptids, to tell you the truth.
Oh.
Okay, I believe in certain things. Like I believe it's possible. It's just I don't know. It's hard to wrap my mind around like all the details of it. But you know, I'm like I just think of it more as like something you'd see in a movie. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
but,
speaking of
but I
which,
feel like everything
Darren-
comes from a truth.
I'm going to Galaxy's Edge in 2 weeks.
I'm jealous.
and I'm going to pilot the Millennium
Oh,
Falcon.
that
So
was
I will,
awesome.
I will let you know
Yeah, let me know
how
how
the
that
universe
is.
looks when I
want
come back home.
pictures. We want pictures.
yeah.
So, well, my final thought basically is I am learning so much from you guys, and I'm not there yet with the whole crystal thing. I'm not there yet. Maybe I need to just get my own crystals and see what they do for me personally.
Yeah.
And I'm learning a lot, so I think you guys are pushing me in the right direction on what I need for myself.
Definitely find ones that call to you. Like when you go into a place, like that's what I'm saying. Like if you go into a place and you're looking at crystals,
Yeah.
what you want to do is instead of looking at like how pretty it is or is it polished or
Well,
whatever.
I'm a girl,
I
right?
know,
So-
yeah, but of course I'm just saying like yeah, but I'm like there are ones that are like this where they're polished, you know what I mean? And they
Right.
do still have, you know, properties to them and stuff. But I tend to go more for like a raw crystal because
Right.
I feel like the
Oh,
more
that's
natural,
interesting because you asked that question on one of the podcasts.
yeah, I feel like if it's more natural,
Yeah.
like
You said,
there's more
"Can I wear a
property in
ring?"
it.
And that's just as powerful.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Yep,
interesting
that's
that you bring that up.
Okay.
Kind of.
Well,
That's
I'll
lapis.
Oh,
I'll
is it
hopefully
lapis?
get there eventually.
Okay.
But as far as the Ghostbusters
But I'm
go,
glad you
I
brought
just
that
wanted
for
to
communication.
Oh, is there really?
put out a couple dates
Maybe that's
out
why
there
it's
for you
up.
guys.
Okay. I'm sure you've
Um,
done things since
Yeah,
we've seen you
just
last, too.
Stuff that
Right.
calls to you is what you want.
What's
you know?
that?
Like the stuff that calls to you is what you want.
Oh,
You know what I
okay.
mean, like I mean, everybody's different, so it's like you don't have to have crystals if it's not something you work with. I understand. I'm like,
Right.
I don't usually do like crystal readings for people or anything like that. I just have them more as a personal protection, and for chakra healing.
Okay.
So it's like I use them for that, for like chakra, from head to toe, chakra healing, and that's what I use them for.
Well, I might have to pick up some, and then I'll send you
Yeah.
a picture and be
Absolutely.
like,
We're
did I
going to
get the
learn
right
more
one?
about
Yeah.
because we're going to be in this phase for a while.
Yeah.
For
This is
another couple
interesting.
more
I'm enjoying
podcasts.
this.
This is my favorite pendulum because it's got chakra crystals from like the head to toe of it, and then you've got the pendulum at the bottom.
Very cool.
So anybody that's into Reiki, we've talked about the
Mm-hmm.
chakras somewhat. We haven't really put up a
Yeah, we should do a show on chakras.
right
Because I'm
there's a
I'm
lot
very-
more, you know.
We can lay him out like body shots and put all the rocks on him. That'd be awesome. Like,
I like pile some rocks on them.
yeah.
Poor
We'll just-
Darren.
We'll just lay him
We're
flat and be
just
like,
gonna play the
"Shot,
operation
shot,
game."
shot, shot."
He's probably like, nobody wants to see that, right, Darren?
No.
Oh, come on.
Poor guy.
No, I just figured it'd be funny. You know?
It would be
like,
funny.
Just kind of like mind you of like your 20s, you know, like your early 20s, and
Right.
you just do like the body shots and stuff. And, like, you'd
Oh,
be
that's
like,
taking the
this is
show
funny.
a whole nother.
Kim's got some things to plug
told
before
you.
they
sorry.
before the
Before we
tape
go on,
runs
I'm sorry,
out.
I apologize.
Before the tape shuts off.
I know, right? Just real quickly, this October, busy season for the Ghostbusters,
Sure.
right? October 5 coming up soon. Downtown Zeeland Pumpkin Fest Parade. If your kiddos enjoy an amazing parade, come see us in the Pumpkin Fest Parade, 3 o'clock on October 5. October 21, Trunk or Treat at the Culvers in Grand Haven. 6 o'clock that starts. Last year we gave out probably between 800 and 1,000 pieces of candy. So unbelievable amount of kids.
Parents love you.
Yeah.
Man.
I might have to bring my daughter to come
Oh,
see
it's
'cause
so
I
fun.
know where that's at.
Yes. And then the very next day, October 22, if you have toddlers or little ones at home, I'll be doing a special Ghostbuster Storytime event at the Howard Miller Library in
nice.
Zeeland. So if you're a stay-at-home mom and you're looking for something to do, or actually any age, because it's going to be at night, 6:30 in the evening, we'll do special story time with special crafting, all Ghostbuster related. Tons of fun.
Super.
Yes, thanks for
I like
having
that.
me. Yeah.
Okay,
Ghostbusters.
I have an event too that I wanted to. Grasp is going to be they're another paranormal team we've had on earlier podcast. On Friday, October 4th in Muskegon, 560 March Street. They will be doing a paranormal event at the USS LST 393. It's a Navy transport ship that's now a military museum. My team and Kent County Paranormal and Darren, we will be out there helping Grasp with that event.
Yep.
Oh, I wanna
So
go.
it's going to be $10, so come on down and check it out.
Yep. Yeah, come on out, guys.
And don't they feed you too? Don't they?
I didn't hear anything about.
Oh, I
being
thought they
fed.
did, but
Now
I could be wrong.
I'm totally disappointed. Darren didn't tell me about that
Well,
until now. So I'm
The
like,
event's at 7. You come down. It's $10 to get in.
oh, okay.
Right.
So
And there's a Facebook event for that
it's
too.
at
so-
that naval ship right downtown Muskegon.
Yeah, you
So-
can find that on the Kent County Paranormal page. We have shared the link to that event,
Yeah.
so you get more.
I shared the
excited.
link too, so you can find it on Tulip City Ghostbusters
Yeah.
as well.
Don't forget to check Brandon out on the Spirit's Doorway. If you're here, you're almost there. So
Nice.
scroll down, up or down, and you'll find the Spirit's Doorway. And even though it might be the same people, it's different stories. So any events you guys want to plug?
Oh, not that I can think of. I got a lot of videos in the works. I've
Yeah.
been filming all summer long. I'm still got a lot of videos coming out. So keep your eyes peeled on the channel.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Same thing with me. I
Yeah.
mean, like literally, I have like videos in the works that I still got to edit from doing investigations with him and things like that. But
It's
I was
a process.
I was like, the YouTube channel is Jamie Ray's Paranormal Wonders. I usually do live streams. I try to do them on Mondays and Thursdays at night, usually at about 10:30 or 11. I do mediumship readings, card readings, dowsing rods, pendulums, things like that for people that have questions, yes or no. And then I did actually make some merchandise for my channel finally.
T-shirts?
Yes, I'm like,
Nice.
it's like
Hats?
T-shirts, totes, like
No
oh
hats?
yeah, the works, yeah. And, I'm
Wow.
like, and it's actually, I was pretty surprised because I was like, I didn't know I had it in me or whatever. And I called it the Love and Light merch because I'm like, the way the shirt is set up is it's literally a heart in the middle where it's got the name or the word love in multiple languages in the shape of a heart, and then like in the down here it just says let love guide the way,
Nice.
and then my channel name on the back. So I was like, I'd never made merch in my life, but I was having fun with it, and I was like, I'm gonna try this.
Jamie Ray, Paranormal Wonders.
Thank you.
All leaders. All these people are leaders, founders of their own groups.
Thank you.
That's people I like to surround myself with.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
I don't have to be the smartest one in there because I just surround myself with smart people and let you guys do all the talking.
I hear you
Works
there.
great. We got some people coming on that are it's part of the same realm. We have Esther Joy, who's a tarot card reader, October 2nd. We have a seer. You guys probably know him. I know you guys
Yeah,
know
Rick.
him.
Yeah.
Wade.
Rick. I know
Rick
him.
Wade.
Rick
Yep,
Wade. He's
I
an
do.
author. He's authored a couple books. He's considered himself a seer. He's going to be October 23rd. This is a new member right here hanging onto my microphone. My microphone here. This is Koala Bob Jr. This is from Steve Wilson, our friend in Australia.
Wow.
So we want to get a little Australian flag to have him
Awesome.
hang on to, but this is our mascot now. He'll be
Awesome.
here every time. That's it. I mean, other than maybe go out and buy yourself some Moldavite.
Well, if you're just be warned with some of the stuff that can give you very intense dreams and stuff like that too. I personally haven't had really anything happen since I've gotten it, but
Right. This will turn on your intuition, and it might turn it on too strongly. And some people have to get away from the stone for a while, not
Wow.
carry it around with them. Get away from it. So, but that's what comes with the Moldavite and all these other crystals. Like Jamie says, check them out. See what works for you. If it does, invest your money. If it doesn't,
Right.
Yep. That's the way I feel. I'm also a big like collector like of rocks, seashells, things like that. So like even like the beach time, I'm like I come home like even me at this age, I'm 35 years old and I still collect seashells like a 2-year-old. Like I'm not kidding you. And I'm like I do, and I'm like I turn them into necklaces and all the 9 yards. And I'm like I create stuff with my daughter just for fun. So I'm like. But now she's 12 going on 30. So, I was like, but
That is really cool.
that is awesome.
in my smudging pot, I have green quartz, amethyst, white quartz, and gypsum, rock salt, different kinds of salts. I have graveyard dirt from my grandfather, who was a ghost hunter, from his right by his grave
That's
in here.
awesome.
So this stuff's very spooky, but like we said in the beginning, keep an open mind, please.
Yeah,
That's what we're all
I
about.
keep pink salt or pink Himalayan salt and sea salt with me and stuff for things, whatever. I'm like in my bag all the time, and I'm like, I actually have my dad's ashes at home, whatever. But I was like, I have a tin with his ashes in it that are shut. And I was like, I wanted to actually get one of those like medicine bags to be able to put that in and carry.
Oh yeah,
with.
I have
Oh,
my
yeah.
bags. Yep. Another
Yeah.
beautiful show. Thanks so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Peace
Thank
out.
you.